Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. I hope you had a great week. Super Bowl is in the books. Wine Paris is in the books. And today, or maybe when you're listening to it yesterday, we were celebrating Valentine's Day. And of course, usually the week before Valentine's Day, there is a huge wave of marketing campaigns, strategies, new products are launched. And we will talk about some of the freakiest in this episode. We will start with the latest news in the market, a true crime story once again, and the hilarious reaction of the Catholic Church to the request for changing, or let's say adapting, their dietary regulations when it comes to the communion. Have fun with this episode. Welcome to the Pinot and Pixel podcast episode number 236, the weekly update on February 14, 15, whenever you're listening to this. So happy Valentine's Day again. We will talk about the latest news of the industry and the freakiest marketing campaigns for Valentine's Day. And we start with the Super Bowl. And right before the Super Bowl, the industry communicated that they saw a huge rise in non-alcoholic drinks, especially beer in the United States, which again reminded people of maybe buying something else without alcohol for their Super Bowl party, which happened looking at the sales numbers. And in addition, for the first time ever, an alcohol-free beer brand, Michelob Ultra Zero, had a super expensive marketing campaign at a spot during the Super Bowl. $8 million is the average price you have to pay for 30 seconds clip. And well, Michelob said, we want to pay for it. And they featured William Dafoe and Catherine O'Hara for their spot. Basically, it's a fun spot. I will put the link in the show notes, where they are pickleball players and challenging super famous athletes playing against each other for a bottle of Michelob Ultra Zero. They featured Sabrina Ionescu, Randy Moss, and Ryan Crozer, so famous sports players in the United States. A very prominent spot. And of course, I mean, this also shows the importance, not only for the industry, for drinkers, but also for big brands using the opportunity of alcohol-free for their business. I had many discussions about alcohol-free drinks, about the industry, about the future, also during Wine Paris. And for me, there are three things. First, prohibition, bans, and like just this dogmatism won't work. This has never worked in history. Look at prohibition. It only made people more creative when it comes to the consumption of alcohol. Secondly, talking to producers, to business people, even if you don't like it, even if it doesn't, even if you don't want to consume it because you just don't like the taste, it is a business opportunity. And third, and the most important thing for me, alcohol-free drinks. Offering alcohol-free drinks is something that pushes inclusion. It's not about getting rid of something or denying alcoholic drinks for other people. It's more about offering an alternative for the people who don't want to drink. And this group is growing every single day. So if you want to be more inclusive as a restaurant, as a wine shop, as a supermarket, just offer more non-alcoholic drinks besides soda and juices and cocktails that are made of sparkling water and syrup. Seriously, there is a big peer group who wants to enjoy non-alcoholic drinks that actually taste good and are not fully loaded with sugar. And Michelob, Heineken, Corona are the brands that are also seeing a huge rise in alcohol-free beer. Same with wine, same with all the other drinks. So it's an opportunity, and jump on that if you want to be part of it. We come to our true crime section. A police collaboration of France and Vietnam swooped a fake Rioja ring. And the fun story is not how it turned out. I mean, in the end, they discovered 17 brands that were counterfeit and arrested 7 people in total, which were part of this huge operation. The fun thing is how it was discovered. In 2023, a wine lover was on vacation in Vietnam, and he discovered a bottle that was super close to a very famous big brand, in that case La Rioja Alta. He bought the bottle, took it home and sent it in for a laboratory check. And then they discovered that the wine was fake, the label was fake. They traced it back to Vietnam, discovered 17 brands in total, which were super close to the original one. I mean, if you are into wine, you will see that this is fake, but just for the people who are looking for labels and don't read it like super detailed, they can fall into this trap. Let's put it like this. And just looking at the names, Beronico, Luxion Wine, 1910, April River, Bottle 1965, some of the brands are listed in the article. And then the police, started their operation. And in the end, they arrested 7 people. I didn't find any numbers on the amount of fake bottles, but it has been a lot. The volume hasn't been communicated so far. The investigations are still ongoing, but it will be several $100,000, I guess. So once again, fraud, counterfeiting doesn't work. Police is catching you. So stop doing it. Sell the good stuff. Buy the good stuff. And if you're a consumer, always look at the bottle twice. Trust your dealer. And only buy fake stuff if you want to help the police finding the people behind the scams. Pretty lovely story, isn't it? From true crime to real life, talking about the big brands. Usually this is the time where they talk about the last quarters, about the last year, and the estimation for 2025. We will start with Diageo. And generally speaking, many brands have communicated in 2024 that they will focus on premiumization. They either try to get rid of their entry-level brands or they already did. We talk about this in the podcast regularly. And Diageo communicated that they not only see a huge opportunity in the no-low space, they also saw a significant rise in the alcohol-free spirits segment of 56% in 2024, outscoring every other category by volume and value. This is crazy, but actually it was expected by Diageo. And Deborah Crew said, this is an opportunity we saw, we will follow in the future. Premiumization is king. The no-low trend is ongoing and we will be part of this movement. They have a major share in Sidley. They bought Ritual Proof Zero. We were talking about this in the podcast as well. And they have been focusing and they will focus in the future on the non-alcoholic space and premiumization also in the spirits area. Another brand that is also focusing on luxury segment, on the premiumization segment, is Treasury Wine Estates. They also saw a significant growth in the last 12 months. And if you remember this, they bought Dow Vineyard. So a part of their growth actually comes from the acquisition of this brand. The organic growth in 2024 is 18% in the luxury segment. So they also see this ongoing trend, the positive trend in the premiumization in the premium spirits segment. The problem with Treasury Wine Estates is that they struggle with their budget brands because they tried to sell their brands, but they didn't receive an acceptable offer, let's put it like this. And brands like Wolf Blass, Blossom Hill, and Lindemans are still part of the portfolio. And the problem is, due to the fact that people are buying less and they still have existing contracts with the grape growers, sales are in decline and the costs are still there for these entry-level brands. They sit on the costs, and this has a negative influence actually on the revenue. So I think they will try to get rid of these brands in 2025. Some of them have already been offered to the market, or at least they are looking for offers in the market. And they will definitely focus more on the premium portfolio in 2025 as well. And one brand that was set to be sold in the next weeks, months, is Mumm. Mumm Champagne was rumored to be put on sale by Pernod Ricard. Reuters communicated this first at February 7th, and 3 days later, the drinks business said Pernod Ricard weighs possible sale of Mumm, and it declined to confirm or deny that it is exploring a sale. So it is expected to be offered to the market. The potential value is sitting around 600 million, or at least it's said to be not lower than $600 million. So if you're interested in a champagne brand, a well-established champagne brand, GH Mumm is up for sale. Minimum offer probably $600 million. The thing is, in the current situation where we have seen a decline with champagne, almost 2 digits over the last 12 months, we were talking about 8% in 2024, sitting at 270 million bottles a year, coming from over 300 2 years ago. Well, I guess this is not the best situation to sell a champagne brand. At least, I mean, Mumm is a well-established brand. And if you think that this can be your way to go in the future, if you want to expand your portfolio, it could be an option. Pernod Ricard says we want to focus more on premium, and maybe they will sell Mumm. If they will do so, we will talk about this in this podcast. And if 600 million for a champagne brand is too much for you, but you still want to have a luxury good, maybe a vineyard in England might be something for you. It's quite funny. I have to laugh about this right now. I was talking to some winemakers at Wine Paris, at the Wine GB stand, about prices of recent vineyards and wineries in the UK. For example, some wineries are considered to be too expensive. For example, Anchor Hill is up for sale for roughly a bit more than £4 million. Some people say this might be too expensive. And on the other side, Hambledon was sold almost 2 years ago in 2023, if I remember correctly, for 80 million. And this was considered to be cheap. And right now, you are able to buy a vineyard and an estate for £3.3 million in the beautiful area of Kent. It's just looking at the pictures, guys, a beautiful estate. It's from the early 1920s. It includes a almost 3 hectare, 2.8 hectares vineyard with Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and Pinot Meunier. So if you're interested in having your own champagne-style sparkling wine, this might be an option for you. Beautiful estate. Link is in the show notes if you're interested in that. Contact the estate agency. What is it called? BTF. Once again, a vineyard up for sale in the UK. There is no winery included, so usually they sold the grapes to, but I mean, if you want to have your own winery, build something, find a winery who is assisting you with the service. There are plenty of them, and just looking at the numbers, there are over 1,000 vineyards in the UK and roughly about 240 wineries, so there are plenty of vineyards which give their grapes to growers. But I mean, if you want to have your own wine, well, that will be a solution, guys. It's a beautiful estate. There's a big vineyard included. So, well, 3.3 million. It sounds like an affordable and well-priced option. Let's put it like this. We stay in the UK, and sometimes I mention what the preparation is all about for this podcast. And usually it's, 40 to 50 newsletters, some Google trends, over the week, and of course several social media posts and following the typical social media channels. Well, there was no news mentioned more over the last 10 days than this one. The Catholic Church has said that non-alcoholic communing wine is unacceptable. The story behind is the following. Ahead of the meeting of the General Church of England in London, one of the reverends put forward a request for changing the dietary restrictions of the church. If you're not familiar with this, usually they have wine and they use bread for the communion ceremony. And more people are neither accepting wine with alcohol during this ceremony, and some of them are intolerant to gluten, so they don't want to have the regular bread. So this reverend asked for an option to say, well, there are people who don't want to have this. Can we offer a gluten-free and an alcohol-free alternative for the ceremony? And the church said, no. It is said in our law, quote unquote, that it has to be normal bread and normal wine, and we don't want to offer something different. And this is stupid in so many ways, guys. I mean, I'm super empathetic for culture and for tradition and everything else. But if you are a company, a brand, an institution that is struggling with attracting new people, new customers, and you're even refusing to adapt to what is going on in their minds of your future prospect, of your future customers, this is stupid. There is no way that you would do this as a brand saying, no, we know that what they want, but we don't accept it. So if you don't accept our policy, just go away. Your company will die. It will run out of business. And it's similar to the church. And the church has been struggling for many, many years in almost every country in Central Europe, seeing a decline in, what is it called, participants? I don't know. Let's call them participants or members. Let's call them members. And recently I even saw a post where they are considering to getting rid of the church taxes in Germany. So, I mean, if you want to attract people, future members, customers to your brand, to your institution, it might be an option to adapt to the trends and to their thoughts and to their requests. So, yes, Church of England has said we will not accept non-alcoholic wine and gluten-free bread. Still England, last week we talked about the brand new brand ambassador of Glenmorangie, Harrison Ford. And just shortly after this news, the World Whisky Awards awarded in a blind tasting the whiskey of Lidl to the best whiskey worldwide. So what they did is they took the ad and trolled Harrison Ford with an Harrison affordable budget supermarket whiskey. And just look at this picture. I mean, this is the absolute super detailed and well-made copy of the original advertisement by Harrison Ford. So if you're watching, look at this. You see this guy standing in the Highlands of Scotland carrying the bottle of Ben Bracken Islay Single Malt, available in Lidl, England and Scotland. And right now I switch to the picture of Harrison Ford's Glenmorangie. Look at this. Isn't that crazy? How smart do you have to be as a marketing agency to put it on point like this within just a few freaking days? This is absolutely amazing. So congrats to Lidl. Amazing marketing campaign. I was absolutely stunned. Link is in the show notes if you want to be part of this. This is what we want to see, right? I mean, it is already smart as a brand to have an ambassador like Harrison Ford for your brand, but then reacting to beating all the whiskeys such as Glenmorangie in a blind tasting as Lidl and then putting on point such a campaign, this is absolutely crazy. And while we are talking about crazy ideas, this is the final transition to the Valentine's campaigns of the week. And we start with Deliveroo. Deliveroo is a doorstep delivery company in the UK, and they hired Tom Gilby, one of the most famous wine influencers of the UK, to being part of the campaign. So they are offering a doorstep sommelier service for Valentine's Day. So what you can do is when, ordering your pizza or whatever, you get a recommendation which wine will perfectly suit your meal, and you will get a 30 minutes introduction, a tutored tasting to your wine. I think it will not only be Tom Gilby that will be offering this, because, I guess there will be some people attracted by this and will book this. It's actually a smart idea, and Tom Gilby has a huge reach in the UK. He has over 50,000 followers on Instagram. And Decanteroo says, well, for Valentine's Day, we'll offer something special. You can have your tutored tasting. Just to give you an idea, we're talking about a Five Guys cheeseburger paired with Rioja, and we are talking about Taco Bell's chicken nachos paired with a South African Chenin Blanc, and for pizza lovers, a Corneliano Prosecco, who can go perfectly with your pizza. And what is interesting about this campaign, or generally about Tom Gilby, is he's one of the few people who manages to attract a younger peer group for wine, because he talks in simple language, he makes wine more accessible, and he even talks about methods and possibilities to discover your favorite wine, even in retail and special retail. sitting at a lower price point. So he's not only talking about the big brands, he's familiar with this, but he makes wine more accessible. And this is what the wine industry needs if you want to get access to younger customers. And not acting like the church in England, but saying, well, if your current area is of dry wine bought in a supermarket, here are my top tips. And if you want to pair it with your favorite pizza, with your favorite burger, this is my recommendation. And then rolling this out with a company such as Deliveroo, just for Valentine's Day, it gets attention. It's a smart marketing strategy, and maybe it brings more customers to the wine space. So he makes everything right. If you're interested in what he's doing, what else he's doing, just follow him on Instagram. His name is Tom Gilby, and I like his content. Just a tiny recommendation. Talking about freaky marketing campaigns for Valentine's Day. As something I won't recommend, but we have to talk about this, guys. Lidl Germany offers a Prosecco Pong set. If you're not familiar with this, there is this, famous game, beer pong, where basically you have cups and people are throwing tiny little ping pong balls. And if you hit the cup, the person of the team has to drink the beer. It's a drinking game, okay? And the highest sophisticated version of this is called Prosecco Pong. So you don't play it with beer and cups, you play it with glasses and Prosecco. I don't know if this is a good idea to drink Prosecco as quickly as beer. In my opinion, it's never a good idea to drink alcohol quickly, but some people do. Right now, Lidl offers a Prosecco Pong set, and they talk about the glamorous New Year's Eve party, something that can bring your life joy, happiness, and glamour at the same time. And we are talking about 6 plastic glasses with beer pong balls for $3.49. Doesn't sound glamorous? Come on, guys. Seriously. If you want to have a glamorous party, don't buy champagne. Buy the cheapest Prosecco you can get and get yourself a Lidl Prosecco Pong set. Sarcasm end. Seriously, guys. This is something the world doesn't need. And what do you think? Who has produced this? For what amount of money if this sits at $3.49 on the shelves? Please don't buy this. It's a stupid idea, and this doesn't make wine more accessible for people. It just supports people's binge drinking attitude. Sorry, guys. It's funny, but no recommendation at all. Staying with the funny things for Valentine's Day, 2 more news for you guys. One is Louis Vuitton recently launched an expensive gift for your spouse, for your partner, if you're interested in that. The Louis Vuitton lobster-shaped bag. When I read this for the first time, I was like, seriously? Come on. And I took the article, actually I think it was a social media post by LVMH, and I sent it to my friend Isabella. She's quite an expert for Louis Vuitton and the quality behind, and also identifying counterfeit bags and stuff. And she was like, no, this is crazy. Seriously. Guys, I'm looking at the picture right now. It's a lobster-shaped bag. You can see the body of the bag basically is black and in this typical branding of Louis Vuitton. And then it has tiny little legs and 2 huge scissors like a lobster. So you can carry a lobster for $18,000. Yes. And if you think this is not crazy enough as a Valentine's gift, there is one more. A zoo in the United States is offering this, not for the first time. It's called Cry Me a Cockroach. So on Valentine's Day, you can go to the zoo and either buy a cockroach for $10, a piece of vegetables for $5, or a rat for $25. Call it after your ex and feed it to an animal. And the money you pay for this is donated to the Wildlife Conservation Fund of the zoo. Isn't that crazy, guys? So, I don't know. If you are part of the Crimea River team on Valentine's Day, just go to the zoo. This is not the only zoo who's offering stuff like that, because, I mean, they were the first a couple of years ago, but right now other 2 zoos are jumping on the train because it's funny, it's smart. I'm not a fan of zoos. This is a zoo that has a wildlife conservation area, and collecting some money for this, they founded this absolutely crazy idea. So if you don't like your ex anymore, go to the zoo, buy a rat for $25, call it your ex, and feed it. And you can make a video of this and send it to your ex if you want to. This is not my recommendation. This is part of the marketing strategy. This is it, guys. Hopefully you have or you had a great Valentine's Day by yourself, with your partner, whatever. Have a freaking great weekend. See you on Wednesday. Ciao, ciao.